Welcome to today's Resource User Group networking session. My name is Jason Ogg. I'm part of the resources team based here in Perth. It's my pleasure to welcome you to here today. Super excited with today's session because we have quite a few international guests from Esri Inc. Who will be providing updates on the Petroleum User Group and some great tips on how you can encourage adoption of spatial data through your business. Just a quick disclaimer, as usual, we are recording, so can I ask that you have your microphones muted unless you want to speak up and ask a question. There's also other options. You can just raise your hand or pop a question in the chat. We will be doing that anyway, trying to provoke some engagement. These sessions are normally based, we base these sessions off the face-to-face networking sessions we used to do, but now obviously having on a webinar gives us a new medium to do it on. So please feel free to engage, ask questions, and get as much out of this as you can. So we'll go straight to our presenters, I'll introduce them first. Our first guest speaker is CS Lai. Lai is from Esri Inc. He's based in Singapore. He is the Natural Resources Commercial Manager for the APAC region. He was supposed to present last time, but the session ran over time a little bit, so we weren't able to get to him, but we're super grateful that he actually wanted to still come back. So thanks for that, Lai, really appreciate it. He's going to give us a debrief on this year's Energy Special Interest Group and updates from the Petroleum User Group. After Lai, our next presenter will be Ryan Farmer. He's a solution engineer at Esri Inc., specialising in that natural resources team. He is based out of North Carolina, but was super lucky enough to have him in Perth today. And he's going to be talking about ways that you can expand your profile within your business and encourage engagement and endorse adoption. Along with Ryan Farmer in Perth, we're also joined by Darren Bryce, who's the Global Account Executive Manager. He's no doubt quite a few of you on this call are familiar with Darren already, so really appreciate you coming along too, Darren. Thank you very much for joining us. But look, there's a lot to get through today. Super excited about Ryan's presentation. So before we do hand over to Lai to start, I do just want to cross over to the next slide and just introduce the team. So as Australia has been expanding, the natural resources team is the strongest team within the business at the moment. We are really busy and working on some fantastic opportunities with our clients. These are the people who are on the ground in the face with our working face to face with our customers. And as usual, we've got the account and executive client success teams and some solution engineers there as well. So I think from the actual account managers to people who specialize in, say, imagery like Gordon Summerling, who a lot of you would also be familiar with. Last but not least, I will hand over to Trev before we kick it off for any thoughts and feedbacks.
Thank you, Jason. Like you, I'm very excited about this. Obviously, we have Esri Inc., we have Esri Australia, but you may not know, I speak to Darren, sometimes every single day, certainly at least once a week, with Lai all the time. So we are actually one Esri here, and we work really closely together and support each other. It's great to have them in Perth. They've been coming quite a bit over the last 12 months or so to work with some of our global customers. And it's really good to see Ryan in Perth. It's his first visit to Australia, so be nice. If you've got questions, Ryan is more than happy to pause, answer those questions. So yeah, throw them in the chat or come off mute, whatever you need to do. So yeah, super keen, lots to get through. So I'll throw it back to Jason. Thanks.
But can I just get some feedback? There was a bit of breaking there from Trevor. I just want to check if the audio was okay for everybody else, please. I've got a hand up already. Ricky, do you want to ask a question? Feel free to come off mute or drop it in the chat.
No, sorry, I was just saying the audio is fine. Thanks, Chase.
Oh, cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. Okay. I'm sitting right opposite Trev and it was breaking up. Okay, fantastic. Well, Lai, thank you again for joining us. It's a shame you weren't able to come to Perth. We always enjoy when you're here. It's pretty much a clear blue sky and 26 degrees and really beautiful weather today. I hope you're enjoying the weather in Singapore. But yeah, looking forward to hearing about your update, mate. Thank you.
A bit cloudy in Singapore today, but generally good weather. Okay. Good morning. Hello, everybody. My name is Lai. I'm the, hope you can see my screen. I'm the Esri Natural Resources Sector Lead for APAC. I'm based in Singapore, like Jason mentioned. I started my GS journey more than 20 years ago as a GS student and have been with as an Esri user since then. So I would like to share with you today some update from one of our Esri most active international user group in natural resources sectors, and walk you through their recent rebranded GS Hub site, where they use it as a kind of engagement hub, one-stop center hub to engage their user community. So for those of you that missed the our resources meeting last month, so every year at Esri User Conference, from day 2 onwards after the plenary by Jack, there are various special interest group, we call it SIG, meetup that will take place for all the peers to meet up and get connected. So Peter Rosas from South32 covered the mining SIG debrief last month. So I was tasked by Trevor and Jason to give you a debrief on energy or petroleum special interest group today. So the petroleum user group, or that is still called a PARC, petroleum user group, but it's an energy SIG now, was first started back in 1990s as a small group of GS users where they get together and they consolidate and kind of like their view, and then go back to Esri as a single voice to kind of like the request for certain functionality, because as you know, that Esri is still very much, until today, still very much improve and enhance our software based on customer feedback and requests. So they thought back then Esri is still very much the more on the national government front, and the petroleum user group feel like they lack the tender loving care, so they get together and gang up and become a single voice, go back to Esri. So today, the PUB has grown to include more than 4,000 professionals across the globe. All our volunteers, they have a day job with the oil and gas, educations, the SI or partner company, but they are volunteers to collaborate and learn and improve the use of GS technology and workflow for the larger energy community. So at the Esri UC this year, the PUB rebranded and launched their new PUB GS Hub, they call it, to promote the collaboration among the energy community and improve the sharing of knowledge and data and resources via this new PUB Hub. So here's the QR code that you can scan to open up the link, or simply type PUB GS Hub in your search browser. The new PUB Hub is built using ArcGIS Hub. ArcGIS Hub is a cloud-based engagement platform that helps you to work more effectively within your own community. It lets users to share data, to create the open data portal, build website front page like this, and work internally within the staff and a member of your community and manage initiative. Ryan later on will show you some of the work that he is doing using the hub, but here this is a public funding hub, and Hub Basic is included in your ArcGIS Online, so you can start using it right now if you have ArcGIS Online subscription to deliver data sharing and site creation capability. But if you want to have a more premium capability, like you want to track your users based on identity and have collaborate with the users to create and manage the initiative, then there's a hub premium that you can, if you're interested and want to know more, you can talk to Trevor and Jason afterwards. So I have this hub open up to show you some of the walkthrough, some of the important tabs that I would like to show you some of the great work that they have done, and these are the new relaunch hub site. So right on the home landing page, there you can see that there are events and upcoming events, and then they are pretty active. They have a quarterly meetup. They have a regular meeting within their own region. They have their two so far annual conferences, one in Houston every year for the International Energy Resources GS Conference. It used to call a Petroleum User Group Conference. Now we rebranded it. It's called URGIS in Houston every year around April and May timeframe. And then this week, as we speak, there's one European URGIS take place in London. So the next one on the resources front. This is where there are many resources that they curated and shared for their community, and these are all information that they either contributed or sourced from the open community. Over here, if you are interested in, let's say, conference proceeding, and they have all the event archive backdated all the way back to 2003. So you're looking for some paper, PDF, or photo, or even video recording. Is all available in this community hub site. And then the other one that I really like is the knowledge hub. So this volunteer kind of like the tagging, go back to all the conferences and tag and categorize all this event instead of by event, and tag it by year, by the source of that content, workflow related to energy, technology trend, product related to the technology, where this information are related to by company and industry. So for example, if I want to, instead of going and search the whole library of, I remember some great presentation from BP, I can just go to the Knowledge Hub, click on the BP, and then it bring up all the, either it's a publication, blog, video presentation related to BP. Over here, I can see that there are 20 related BP related materials available. And again, because these are volunteer, they are going back to the library and start tagging it based on the most recent years of material, and they're going backward. And so far, they have managed to cover from 2019 to 2023. So they're still going back and tag and categorize all this material inside the content hub. And the next one is by workflow. For example, if I want to look for certain carbon offset related use cases, and over here there are 9 carbon offset related use cases from our Awareness magazine, like Apple, what did they do in terms of achieving the net zero carbon offset initiative, and then some of the others material or presentation. And for example, over here, there's one, how they put the carbon capture on a map. And these are the presentation that are shared in our prior year talk. The next one I would like to show you is the on the apps and model that they curated and shared. So this these are the curated list of publicly available apps and model that are special interest to the global energy community. So these are all available in our Esri Living Atlas, but it is for whole industry. So what this group has done is that they kind of like the filtered through and select those apps and model that are particularly be interest to their community and put it in their own hub. So if you are interested in, let's say, some of the pre-trained AL, ML, the AI ML model, there are tons of it that here that you can take a look. For example, that include like building footprint extraction, and then even for Australia over here, so they have somehow tweaked the trained model to specially recognizing the building footprint from the imagery classification for Australia that will be more tailored and fit into the your landscape. And road extraction model, shock detection, and well path detection model. So these are all package that you can download. If you want to modify it, you feel free to. But these are the pre-work that somebody has done and then shared it out. Some are authoritative by some check by Esri, some are not authoritative. So I would suggest that you take a look and pay attention and choose those that are has been verified as authoritative model to ensure that your data is accurate and the output is meeting your expectation. And another one is the data atlas. So we all know that when you start a GIS project, content and data is always a big challenge. So this group also kind of put together some of the map and atlas and web map and the package that you can start looking up. You can search it by free text here or by category. Either you want to search wealth or environment, and then pipeline or weather, or you can search by geography of your interest. For example, if I choose the weather, and then there are so far 313 data set related to weather globally, because I didn't through the town by geography, and there are 700 over apps and maps that are related to weather tech that you might be interested in. So I think they have done a tremendous, amazing work on this serving the community. So the last one that I would like to take you is their LinkedIn part page. So these are the professional global organization managed through their part, the LinkedIn group, and membership is free to join. So if you are from energy industry, I strongly encourage you to join this community and get connected with your peers globally. If you're not from energy industry, I hope this will inspire you to elevate your user group and make the best out from your community engagement. So thank you for your time and attention. I pass the time back to Jason.
Thanks, Lai. There looks like there's some amazing content in there that's relevant for everybody on the call. Traditionally in Australia, we have a lot of mining, but I think a lot of those use cases on there are transferable to all our mining customers.
Absolutely.
So, guys, everybody on the call, spend half an hour just and go have a look. Because also in America, a lot of the petroleum work is actually onshore as well. So absolutely, when you talk about all the ground disturbance activities and rehabilitation, it's all the same, right? Really, really interesting, and lots of great content there. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for joining again. Can't wait to see you in person again next time, Lai. Thank you. Our next presenter, looking forward to presenting Ryan Farmer. He's here in Perth. He's sitting in a different room in his own box. But really appreciate you joining us, Ryan. I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, I will just pause it there. I can't see the screen. I wasn't sure if anyone asked any questions or anything like that. No? Okay, we can always come back to questions to Lai if anyone has any later on. Sorry, Ryan. Thanks, mate.
All good. So nice to meet everybody that I haven't in Perth. Thanks again. They haven't kicked me out of the city yet. But excited to share with you all, different ways of engaging. So let me share my screen today. And I kind of want to take you through a journey of, not just geospatial and analysis where we often think about in GIS, but instead also thinking a bit about marketing and really building that system of engagement. So just bear with me for one moment. And I just wanted to pull up and kind of walk through a couple of ideas where we can talk about collaboration and some value adds to the business. So at the end of the day, we all have budgets and we have to show how GIS is creating value, if it's that authoritative, system of record. But unfortunately, it's not always like we've seen some great baseball movies with Kevin Costner. You can't always build it and they'll just come. So instead, we have to, in some instances, make it more appealing. We have to kind of fish for users to get in there and get excited and see, through exposure of what's there and what else could do. Because oftentimes we have users come, they tell somebody else, and it's like, could we also do this? Or we take it to where people live and breathe. So, executive teams live in presentation mode, or they live in communication softwares like Microsoft Teams or Slack. So we'll kind of walk through the whole gauntlet today, but excited to be here and share some of the ideas and trends we've seen with some customers and kind of continue that story as we go along. So here, just to share it with everyone, if you haven't met with us or we haven't had a chance to talk, here's our mining portal for the Esri group. And so I work within natural resources, but also heavily in the mining industry. And we just wanted to show people what we can do with the portal. So you can go beyond just the standard blue and kind of purple or green and purple background where you have your organization's name or a carousel. But instead, we really encourage you to kind of build it out and customize it just like you would your house. So people come in here, make your featured maps and applications or initiatives very easy to find, and also highlight some of the work you're doing with groups and sharing everything out. So here you can see some of the different applications we've put together, as well as some of the web maps that are constantly requested. And so we make it easier for our mining team within Esri to find these applications and show them to users. But also, we link to other specific applications. So here in a moment, we'll show an industry-specific app. But I wanted to talk about, kind of empowering a user base, but also keeping a tidy house. So here, let's look really quickly. And I just wanted to touch really quickly on reports and how they can help make your organization a bit more strong. So we can go in here and we can look at the credits. And so we have an operational dashboard, so it'll give us a lot of good information about our content and usage. But if you're an administrator, you can go in here and start to explore some of these reports. So notice you can schedule them, or you can create and run one now. But this is a question that comes up with customers of, hey, how can I see who else in my organization without just trying to do a comparison from Active Directory? Or maybe you're trying to see if you have people like Darren. We're working with him. Darren's great, but he has a bunch of content he's created, and it's really cruising through credits. And so we can start to look at that and educate the user on best practices. But highly encourage you to get in here in these reports and see if they can help solve any of your issues from an administrative level, but also build up that system of engagement so your users have somewhere to go and work that's constantly being updated so it's not stale dated. So let's go back. So we can kind of see, creating that engagement for the portal, but oftentimes we're seeing a trend and a change from users. So oftentimes you might be thinking from an asset level or regional base, but also once you get beyond that, how do we embed applications and take it to the users in, company websites or things of that nature? Maybe it's a SharePoint. And here's an application we put together based on your workflows. Exploration geologists want to see exploration. They don't necessarily want to see the health and safety all the time. So just enabling those users to continue their workflows, see the applications and data they want, and show kind of how far you can push the envelope. So other than just communication, a common theme we hear is training. So how do we train our users better? There's some wonderful things in the Esri catalog, but you can also go a really long way with, featuring these applications and embedding videos. So here, if we click down on one of these, we can see we have something from a recent mining webinar. If we actually go up, I just want to share one really quickly of field maps. So we have users in our organization. Hey, what's an example or a way we might use this application? And so we can actually tie that in from, a cloud bucket, something like an S3 bucket, and have it there within our portal for organizational users to go in there to begin to explore and see one way that they might use the application. So I'm going to give this a moment, see if we have any questions yet, but also just let this walk through. And just imagine you're in your organization and it's the one application everybody uses, but you get a call about 3 a week about if you had a video kind of showing people how to use it or a typical workflow and the capabilities, how powerful that might be. So I'm just going to let this play for a second, just showing some of the values and then how we have some conditional statements as well. That's a question we get. And notice the rest of the form filled out. But we're also using things like Arcade to do automatic collection to cut down on the error. And then one thing we wanted to highlight to our user base in this is just connectivity of GIS. So here within our little pop-up, you saw that we can link to an email and automatically pop that up. So let's go beyond just using these catered applications, because we could look at other things, you know, in the monitoring space or anything like that, and kind of tie in more of what Lyle was talking about a little bit. So initiatives are one of the powerful features of a hub site. And so depending on the level of a hub site, you have a different capabilities, but the big impact is still there. The idea is you're creating a community, you have a focus. And so here's ones we created for tailings management. We're starting to look through this tailings management facility and thinking about what do our users need to know, or maybe it's public facing and what do we need to get to our stakeholders or regulatory organizations. And so it's very similar to that catered applications you start to explore. So here we've highlighted a couple of different applications that we built out, as well as if this one was internal, we'd have stuff to go back into our portal. Then we have the opportunity to have things like open data, open maps, and some of these catered applications that users will need that are powerful. But then community events. So this is one that I think comes in really handy when you're starting to talk about things like permitting or regulatory offers, things you have to get in there, and not just industry events. So you can really use your calendar and make it dynamic to make sure you're getting the word out there on things that need to happen on those spaces. And then since this is tailings, we wanted to put in a couple of different things from the Church of England and kind of, you know, Esri's blogs of some available solutions in that space, but also showing just how dynamic it is. It's not always just an application or a URL that's embedded. And instead, you have the ability to look at things like here we have a webinar that's embedded, or we can put videos in there. And so really use the technology as robust and kind of push that framework to get all the information out there. You already have that content, so don't just keep it scrolled away on one person's machine. Instead, allow your organization to use it and become really powerful and really well, you know, updated on that. And so speaking of briefings, so we have information where we're kind of letting users change and choose their own adventure. But the other things, we all have to give presentations. And so something that came out the UC, which I think we saw it and we didn't really think about it that much, was story map briefing. So it was in beta. But I really encourage users to get in this and kind of dig down and see what you can do. And so the idea is, you know, it's the same framework as the story map, but oftentimes we'll get in a meeting and either we scroll a lot, like me, I want to go up, I want to go down, or I can use the chapters. There's the same things here. But here in a slide format, our executives or any managers, anybody we have to report to, we're kind of trained as a society to be able to look in these presentation views. We digest things in slides, often to the point of where we're seeing so many slides that it's ad nauseum, right? And so we're just kind of burnt out on them. And so this is another way that I think it'll continue to increase in its capabilities as we go along. But let's look through one scenario that we see with customers and we've talked to about of, you know, you're having to do a weekly update. So first thing is any presentation, we need to set the scene. So I'm wanting to talk to you all about, you know, scalable solutions today and way that we can communicate both large and small, as well as knowing your audience. So in this instance, our executives live and breathe in presentation mode. So they're digesting in a PowerPoint slide. But how much more powerful can it be if we're using our data to provide our updates to our decision makers, and it's not just a snapshot or an image of an application and then having to open multiple tabs, but instead we've got those maps or those scenes embedded within the presentation because plans change. So let's look at a couple of examples. So kind of the idea here is we're the manager of geospatial. We want to start at a global level and look at impacts and threats to the business. And then we want to go more granular to changes at a regional level. So these are our problem children or ones where we have new data that we want to highlight. And then as well as we're always trying to show what's the value add, why is GIS important, and what are we doing and what can we do? And so that's kind of the different slides that we're going to show in creating value. So kind of an update here versus more real-time threats that we're looking at. So the first one, you look at it and it's like, it's a dashboard, but it's in a slide. So it's an operational update. We can see the status of our sites and see what's going on. And it's a pretty small map, but it becomes more powerful when we start to use that inherent connectivity to the system. And so we can see it's actually going to our GIS. We have the conditional statements to symbolize based on status. And that's great. And it just looks like a web map, but it becomes more powerful when we start talking about things like utilizing the Living Atlas and live feeds. So here, hurricane season is going on, and we have some of those in North America, but also in South America, looking on these active margins for things like recent earthquakes. So we can show that the executive team, show them where the epicenter is, and it's all using the functionality of the Living Atlas and ArcGIS and showing how we can really bring those tools in to make better decisions in real time. But we go down the rabbit hole and we have the application open, but it's really powerful because we can stay back to task and just minimize that and continue along. You can embed other applications like a dashboard or some of the custom applications if you want. They just don't have some of the same functionality as a web map or a scene as you go along. So this is just a screenshot to show you kind of a hurricane. So it's the same idea of looking at those other natural disasters. But really, you could pull in this, or imagine you're at a tailings facility and you have a dashboard or some type of map showing a live feed from sensors that are at your site. So it can become really powerful really quickly. And instead of asking your users to remember how to log into GIS or click buttons, instead we're taking them on that journey and we're bringing it to them. So plans change, and that's the idea of this workflow of we have a site and we're looking at updates from the field. So this is from the Duluth complex in Minnesota. I really like this area, but it's wonderful because there's a lot of great free data. And the idea is there's some property coming available and we're looking at 3 different prospects. And kind of we have this fault, maybe we're thinking, you know, the ore body extends along the fault or something like that. But we really need some additional cores to investigate and see what's going on. So we've outlined these permit areas where we want to go get some drill cores. And then we also have some of these aggregate bins in ArcGIS showing us where the existing control data is, in addition to some mine sites. But it becomes kind of apparent and really powerful of GIS of what the value is. When we start looking at it, we're starting to collect these cores and get data from the field. So notice this drill core is in green. So if we actually click on it, so that's our prospect. And we actually want to go look and we can see the status of it. So we're showing, you know, field data collection, we have it. We're also carrying over some of that information. So we have the actual cuttings here showing it, as well as a strat column that the geologist put together in the field. So discussions are giving power, that there's real data and there's science behind it versus let me get back to you on that. Let me follow up on that. We can actually bring stuff and make answers and decisions in real time. And so I think that adds a lot of value. And one of the questions that Darren and I get when we're working with customers and starting to show this is what are the capabilities? Because it is new, but I mean, it's still ArcGIS, so it has, you know, a lot of the same features and functions you'd expect, but it's not just 2D data. So here's some LiDAR that we took from a mine site in North Carolina, and we actually processed it, and then we created a terrain model and then a hillshade. So here we can actually see and take them out to the pit, see it in 3D, and then it's symbolized based on elevation. We could also do the same thing with a last data set or some LiDAR. So it becomes really powerful. We can elevate and, you know, these workflows, but we can investigate things like elevation as well. And then the other thing is like we can pull up dashboards, but more and more GIS is becoming immersive and interactive. And so this is more of what I call the monitor and measure area. So yeah, we can send them a spreadsheet because everybody loves a good spreadsheet. But if we're in there and we're talking with the foremans of how big is the volume left of that aggregate pile, so maybe we're looking at sand or crushed stone, utilizing things like Arcade and SiteScan, we can actually see these derivatives from our drone program and show volumetrics while we're working through that. And it's another way to update those users through an immersive experience. And lastly, as we lead into the other thing of going where users work is collaboration spaces. So the idea is here is, hey, we're a GIS organization, we're the mining team. We want to share with our users some of the updates. And so, hey, maybe we rolled out the Microsoft 365 updates. So now we have the capability for the accounting team or maybe some of the regulatory team to look in Excel and they actually see some of those points or the data in there in maps, as well as SharePoint and some of the other features and functionality. But before we hop over to Microsoft Teams and show you an example over there, I just wanted to make sure people are aware of briefings and think about it in a context of, hey, this is powerful. You're using your data and you can tell your story, but at the end of the day, you're leveraging your existing technology investment. So it's currently in ArcGIS Online. I anticipate questions of when will this be an enterprise? And based on my understanding, it's going to be coming around 11.2 when that is released.
Just interrupt you there for a moment, Ryan,
Sure.
because I think it's, you mentioned it a couple of times, telling your story, and I think that's really important. Like we can do some fantastic analytical stuff with GIS, but the other thing that it's amazing at is sharing and collaboration and telling a story, and your story. So we see it in so many different industries. I used to work at the Fire and Rescue Service here and look after them as a client, and someone else interprets the story, but they can use story maps, for instance, to push something out and say, well, this is the actual story. And as you mentioned, this can be both internal and external. And if we have a stronger lens of ESG at the moment, and so that external story is actually really important. You know, your social license to operate is as important as it ever was. One of my colleagues on the call, one of our account executive, Andrew Hiley, he's working with an organisation in Queensland. I might have mentioned this to you the other day, Coal Seam Gas, and you know the landholders are concerned about subsidence on their properties. So they've developed a hub site where those landholders can go in. The organisation is flying LiDAR, and they can actually see that, you know what, there's no subsidence because of these wells that we've drilled. But you know, they get to actually put that authoritative data forward. They allow access to a community, and they can go in and view that. So, you know, they know, those farmers know nothing about GIS, but most people can understand things through maps and visualization, so it works really well for them. So I think this is great sort of stuff. And you mentioned there ArcGIS Aligned. So what we're talking about here is not just for big organisations, right? This is a capability for everyone. Cheers.
Agreed, 100%, right? So it's scalable, and that's really where the real power comes in, I think, as well. And so we talk about that, and so it's a bit tongue-in-cheek about s'mores, which hopefully everybody's familiar with those, but marshmallows and chocolate. But in the U.S., when it's summertime, you don't just have marshmallows and chocolate on the normal candy aisle. They start putting it at the end cap, so you can't get out of the grocery store without your kids wanting a sucker, as well as some additional marshmallows and sugar. And GIS can be powerful if we do that as well, with cross-marketing. And that's really the theme I wanted to kind of point out as we go over to this next team segment. So I'm going to go through it at kind of a high level, but I did just want to bring attention. The mining team put together a blog on kind of step-by-step of some of the functionality. There's a lot more of how you can actually bring ArcGIS to teams. So you can search for it throughout the channel if your organization has authorized it and enabled it. So you've created a team channel, and then when you actually search for it, you can just actually pull up ArcGIS. And so once you've added it, you have the capability to actually search your portal as well as the Living Atlas or just your content and make users aware of it. And so just wanted to show another quick screenshot. You can actually edit some of the content in there, so you can blow it up through here. If you have the appropriate rights, you can edit it. You can open it in a browser. And it all depends on your groups and the security levels of how it's shared, but you can do a lot of maintenance and show it to people. And it's another way to share that system of engagement. So let's look at a couple examples. So this is always the dangerous part of the demo when you hop into your live team site. So I think we're okay today because most of my colleagues are asleep. But just showing you, here we've created a team channel. We've creatively named it the Mining Team Company. But we're starting to put in some URLs from our applications that are catered, but we're also highlighting new initiatives and things that are ongoing. So here we can see the first thing we did was add the ArcGIS plugin, and then we wanted to go and add and post the Mining Tailing Engagement Hub. So this is our hub initiative. So imagine you have numerous initiatives and ongoing efforts. You can post about those in individual channels or a GIS channel, and so people can see what's the purpose of it, where's that at, and they can investigate that on their own time and leisure. But also, we have other things that people are often asking for. So maybe we're looking at an operational digital twin, or things just like monitoring update day-to-day of what we're actually looking for. But imagine you're presenting to your stakeholders, whether it's a briefing board or just your boss, and you're trying to show them where GIS is. You can pull up your computer or their computer, and we can actually show them some of these applications. So note earlier, we had that catered application, and we had it by discipline. So we can send people here versus having to go out on the web and find the URL and everything. And they have another way to find that data and investigate and interrogate it as well. And the same thing looking at dashboards, or in this case, we had some marketing analysis on looking about, where we should actually go in there in an aggregate site and look at it. So as it loads, you'll see it here in a moment. We were investigating minds and queries in the US of, hey, we have population growth, and let's use the power of GIS to show where we should put our next site to feed this expected growth throughout our communities to make sure we're in the right place. So it really becomes powerful, and you can make it just like your geospatial strategy should be a living document and living idea and plan. You can do the same thing with teams in your GIS, have your catered applications or initiatives and show them through there. And then before we run out of time today, kind of the last thing was showing a different example of, monitoring and measuring. So we're always worried about threats to our business. And so we can look at large scale as well. So here we're using some real-time data feeds for things like crime. So they're coming in through certain providers. We're able to triage it with GIS and other survey type applications. And then we can post about it or ask people to follow up on it within the Teams channel. So it's integrating between Teams as well as the Microsoft stack so that we get real-time updates, and it's going back and forth, and people are able to stay updated and know what assignments and what they need to do. Just kind of depending on your workflows, there's not a lot of dynamic flexibility as we go through there. But just kind of want to end and see if we have any questions before I turn it back to Trevor on, this is your data, this is your analysis and everything. So tell your story, but also help your users tell their story as well.
Hey, Ryan, Jason here. We just had a question from Michael. He's just asking if this functionality requires Active Directory access.
So we're not using Active Directory. So really, if we're talking about the Teams portion, it depends on how your organization has structured that. So if the store is open and available, you're going to need to talk to your IST group to see whether or not they can enable that to come through for you.
Excellent. And Will, I can see that you've asked, are we going to share the URL links? Absolutely. We'll be sending out the recording to this webinar. That normally takes about a week or so, and with the presentation as well. Thank you. Back to you, Ryan.
Yeah, that's it. So just excited to be here, supporting, and if you're in the Perth area, hopefully we run into you, but if not, we'll catch you next time.
Okay, really appreciate it. Fantastic presentation there. Lots of useful information for our customers. I think one of the things that we always try to encourage is self-enablement for everybody. And part of that self-enablement is about raising your profile. Sorry, I've got something on the screen there, just moving it. So I think there's some great tips and tricks there. I can't see the screen if anyone's in the chat. Has anyone got any questions, either for Ryan or Lai, please? Feel free to jump off mute, type something in chat. That's okay. Look, we will follow. We can follow up on questions afterwards. These recordings will be sent out, and the chat is still open. So if you think of something after the webinar, feel free to drop it in anytime, and we'll get back to you. So I think what I'll do is I'll just move on. I'm just trying to change my screen. Apologies, which isn't working. The technical difficulties I'm experiencing have nothing to do with the ArcGIS technology. It's Teams. I can't share my screen. Bear with me for 1 sec. Trev, do you want to do a song and dance while I change the screen for a sec? Thanks, mate.
I won't, but I will make a comment because one of the things that we've been looking at, and sort of one of the, I guess, focuses of this webinar in particular was around, things that can be done for those smaller mid-tier miners. And so everything, as I mentioned there, Ryan showed, that was ArcGIS Online. And so there's very little barriers in terms of the technology to getting to that point. But of course, what he has shown is completely scalable. And whilst I say the focus was smaller mid-tier, I know a lot of bigger miners that, probably haven't gone to that level of implementing stuff in their portals or their ArcGIS Online. So there is a lot out there. I know when I used to be in our professional services team, I mentioned this, I think this morning in a meeting, And you know, we used to talk about developing your site, your portal, and you need to make it attractive because you want people to come back. And so that is actually really important. You might, you know, think that the cosmetics of it is not, but it is. And the other thing is make sure that when you do create these things and you put your first maps and apps up there, that it's actually really relevant. So go and find what those relevant apps are and have it there, so it encourages people to return to that site. So Jason, your slides working?
Yep, we're all good. Thank you very much. So what I'm sharing here is just a couple of other links that people might find useful. There was a LinkedIn post recently shared by Gareth that had just an example where he's digitized all his companies' forms that they would typically use out in the paper-based forms out in the field, obviously providing excellent value back to the business. This is something I encourage everyone to have a look at. It's only a really short read. That link will be sent out to you. The next one is a case study that QGC did. This case study is a little bit a few years old now, but super relevant. They were challenged to track where all their staff are, just for safety purposes. Obviously, if there's an incident, but also they want to know where their workforce is. They're looking after a large, vast areas, and everyone's spread out. Really, really great case study there that talks about enablement and field mobility, and obviously a lot of that's based on Arctis Online. We've also released an ebook recently. If you haven't read it, please just have a quick read. It's the QR code there will take you through to it, and we'll also send you the link following today's webinar. If you're missing out, we just had a couple of messages that people are missing out on the links for these webinar sessions. So please, there's a link that you need to go to subscribe to any of these sessions. Sometimes the issues come from our customers' side when they've got IT blocking external links coming in, or if you've unsubscribed in the past for something else, sometimes you won't get these links. So if that's the case, just try subscribing again and or emailing any of us, and we'll try to sort it out from our end. Before I do close out, I'm just going to take that back. It is November, the 2nd of the month, and there's Movember happening at the moment in Australia. I'm not sure if it's a global thing. Is it a global, Darren? He hasn't got a mustache, so he's not even trying. But yeah, we've got, as Australia has a few candidates to say, Tom Gardner, who a lot of you would already be familiar with. He normally grows a mighty fine mustache. So if I'm asking Trevor just to share his screen if you can, where we're raising some funds. It's for a great cause. It's for men's health, mental awareness, and prostate cancer, and there's a few other causes there. I'm not sure if everyone can see your screen. Sorry about that. But we'll also send that link following today's session. Just a bit of fun. And if you end up catching up with Tom over the next month, just feel free to have a laugh. We always have a bit of fun with Movember. Thank you for everyone who joined today. Really, really appreciate our international guests and Darren and Ryan joining us here in Perth. It's been an absolute pleasure. Oh, yes.
Jason, there's one question from Carl directed to me and said that what is the magic sauce that allowed the park to be so successful and Mark to struggle at best? I don't think that Mark is struggle. Darren, you want to chip in? I think that Mark this year have a pretty good turnout this year at UC.
Yeah, no, thanks, Lion, and thanks for the question, Carl. Absolutely, I think it's sort of what they have is a team. They've got Brian Boulme as the industry sector lead, and that's something we just don't have in mining. So between myself and a few of the other account executives and subject matter experts, we've been kind of fumbling around with the mug. So point made, Carl. I know we've had your volunteer to help out, and we've been trying to do a couple webinars a year, but we certainly wish we could be at the same level as the PUG, and it's still an intent. I don't know if we'll get to the same level, but we're certainly working on it. So thanks for the comment.
Yeah, and Darren, just to follow up on that, my 2 cents is, in any of these ideas or things like this webinar today, or there's opportunities for engagement. And, speaking for Darren and myself, we always want to hear your story as well as your struggles so that we can kind of share those patterns or anything with our user base. So there's always an opportunity there in the community for us to kind of build it up and continue those discussions. And I feel like the petroleum user group had a bit of a head start, but it's a very active community. So the more things we can do to make that community active, I think the more powerful it'll be.
Yeah, I think that the statement I keep on hearing during the meetup is that again and again, they keep on emphasizing and reminding everybody, though from company to company level, they can be competitors, but it turned out that this is a very close-knit community, and the knowledge that they share is actually benefiting everybody, including themselves. So I think that is the kind of like the spirit that this group of people are bringing into the table, and then they are really great. And but probably the second reason is because they have been around for 20 over years. I think that evolved over time as well. So I think that's probably, there's no magic, a lot of hard work. Everybody's volunteer and sincerely sharing their resources with their peers. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you very much, everybody. I would also welcome any knowledge sharing from our customers. It's really difficult to get customers to share content sometimes, basically because there's a lot of IP there. So I can understand some of the struggles and approvals that people need to go through. But any support to build this networking group and community up more would be fantastic. Really appreciate all the work that everyone's done to date. Again, thank you, Darren. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Lai. Really appreciate everybody being here. I hope there's been value in today's presentation. It's been some excellent, fantastic content, which I will certainly be regurgitating into my own presentations. Unless there's any other questions, we'll come to the end of the day. Thank you again. Trev, you want to say anything else?
Yeah, just a big thank you to our presenters today. Some really great content there. If you've got any questions, as Jason mentioned, just throw it in the chat, or you can send us an email. And I know Ryan's based in North Carolina, but he's very accommodating, as are all of our colleagues at Esri Inc. in terms of staying up late and being on a call. So we can certainly help with those. This is our last resources user group for this calendar year. I don't think we're going to fit another one in before Christmas. So I do wish everybody a happy and safe Christmas. We'll kick these off again early next year. I know there's a lot of leave in January, myself included. I'm taking some leave, so we'll probably start up again around the February timeframe for our next resources user group. Yeah.
I'd love to get some. I'd love to get small Ryan Farmer on our rugs. Did you like the pun there? Hey,
Yeah.
You can use it, guys.
Okay. Oh,
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay
Enjoy
safe.
the rest of your day. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.